Well, howdy do, my dudes, and welcome back. Let's immediately get something out of the way. I love Magical Girl stuff. Love it. Like many Magical Girl fans, Sailor Moon was a formative part of my childhood. It's how I met my best friend, and she's still stuck with me more than 2 decades later. And as I've gotten older and my tastes have become more refined, that love has certainly not waned. So when I saw that Enchanterium were holding a Magical Girl collab on their Patreon, I jumped on the opportunity to join so fast. Rather than create a sweet and girly character, my Magical Girl is inspired by characters like Yusuke Urameshi, Jolene Kujo, and Junko Enoshima. By day, she seems like just another bratty delinquent making a ruckus, but by night, she's a magical girl who fights evil and protects the innocent. But rather than her powers being strengthened by the power of friendship, they're strengthened by her anger. Her anger at the world's cruelties and injustices, and the ones who made it that way. And she's going to fix things, whether anyone likes it or not. With all that in mind, let's get started. I'm using a G3 Clawdeen for my base because I haven't worked with Clawdeen in ages and I thought she'd be cute for this project. I also haven't processed it all on cam in a really long time, so I'll do that here. Y'all probably know the drill by now. Remove the factory paint and hair so she's nice and clean for customizing. Woo! Ooh. I also removed her wolf ears, the molded underpants, and the tufts of fur around her extremities. In hindsight, I really didn't need to remove anything but the ears since everything else is covered up by the outfit. But whatever. Now that she's fully prepped, we can get to the fun stuff. Every magical girl needs an iconic outfit, so I'm starting here. Woo! My concept art shows an outfit heavily inspired by Mew Lettuce from Tokyo Mew Mew, also featuring chunky spiked bands a la Chun-Li, and some cute but spiky little shoes. Oh no. Oh no. Spoiler alert, only the shoes and spiked bands survived the creation process. I hated how the bodysuit fit, so I went in a more traditional direction. I thought a big fluffy dress a la Cardcaptor Sakura would scream Magical Girl better, plus it would make a fun contrast to how much of a brute she is. But we'll get to that shortly. I started with her stockings, which I shortened into socks off cam because I thought shorter leg wear would suit the overall look better. Randall! Hi, buddy. Hi, bud. Then she got some white bloomers, both to protect her magical modesty and to help add some volume to the dress. It's gonna be floofy AF, so overkill is the name of the game here. This went flawlessly, no issues at all.
Well, at least I'm consistent. I think I sewed these too good. Oh, there we go. Yay. Stoop. Zoop. Boop. Oh. Just kidding, more seam ripping. This is what happens when you don't go back to the instructions of what you're trying to sew. This thing's in here tighter than a fat guy in spandex. Yeah, I'm gonna need a different safety pin.
I made the petticoats next. Nothing revolutionary here. I did the exact same thing here as I did with my Gunbreaker bunny. For the shoes, I just repainted a pair of Descendants shoes I've had in my stash for years. In the footage, they already have some paint on them because I painted the first few layers with my nephew and didn't film it. Now for the dress. I made this mainly with iridescent organza, which may have been a mistake because this is by far the worst material I've ever had to sew. I used the bodice from Moonlight Jewel's Lolita dress pattern, altered the sleeves, and completely winged the skirt. I wanted a short circle skirt so it would really floof out. I also added a layer of sheer white chiffon under the organza pieces to add some opacity and to make sure she doesn't have her magical boobs out while she fights. I also made a second skirt pattern with the same white chiffon so I could experiment with the layer order to see what I liked best. So, of course, I faffed with the skirt for a comically long time to make it feel appropriately magical.
One eternity later.
In the end, I cut some metallic gold fabric vinyl to decorate the skirt pieces, and to make some lace because nothing in my stash looked right for this project.
Whoa, my eyes. Oh, ow, that actually hurts.
I had to do this twice because I'm a dum-dum and cut the first round on the wrong side of the vinyl. Good job, Toby. The organza skirt piece got a pattern with radiating lines and little sparkles, while the chiffon layer got nothing. However, to add more color and visual interest to the dress, I layered the chiffon piece on top of the organza skirt and gathered it in a few places to give it a princessy look, I guess? With the order decided, I could finally finish the bodice and sew on the skirts. And here's the finished dress. Hallelujah. Now it's time for the face. Unusually, this ended up going pretty smoothly for the most part. I wanted to do something stylized like I did for Gumi last summer. The face-up is like 80% gouache and acrylic, so after sketching the eyes and laying pastels down for the eyebrows and lips, I started painting, telling myself to trust the process all the while. Painting the eyes is always the most stressful part of face-ups for me, but I actually like how these turned out. Before calling the whole thing done, I added some small touches to give the face a little more character, like adding some pink downward-facing lashes and some more catch lights to really give her some magical sparkle. To be honest, I think I was subconsciously inspired by Rhea Ripley with this face-up, and I'm not even mad. I added some pink micro glitter to her face too. Off-cam, I added some fabric patches over her ear holes because we can't just have giant gaping holes in her head, especially now that it's hair time. As usual, I'm using yarn wefts for her hairstyle. I'm using a mix of two blonde tones. At this point, I had just barely enough for the basic hairstyle, even after borrowing leftover fibers from the bangs. Speaking of which, I went for a choppy look for these to make her look appropriately scrappy. Then she gets her gigantic feminine twin tails to create a girly contrast. I had to make more wefts for these to get the volume I wanted, and to generally make sure that the hair didn't suck. I glued the rest of these off cam. For a finishing touch, I'm using some brown and black pastel at her roots to give the illusion that she bleaches her hair. For one last touch, she gets an ahoge because I thought it would be funny. She's looking cute so far, but let's be honest, she needs to be even more extra. First, she needs her spiked bracelets and headbands. I printed these donut shapes and just glued some spike studs from my hoard onto them. Bows are also important, so I'm adding some to her socks, to the back of her dress, and on the bodice. For a slightly silly touch, she gets this little brooch that shows she's cute, but also angy. To complement the silver tones of the spikes, I'm adding some of this chain to her bodice and socks. I'm also gluing a tiny piece of cotton fabric onto her cheek as a band-aid for the cut there. I actually did this at the same time that I put the grip onto Vivi's staff. Every magical girl needs their signature weapon, but rather than a wand or something similar, this girl gets a weapon more befitting of her rowdiness. So she gets a magic morningstar. I printed it from a file on Thingiverse and painted it in the same color scheme as her dress and her shoes. I also did a light wash with a rust-colored metallic paint and some black to make it look a little less pristine, because you know she's using this to give some particularly stubborn evildoers a good bunk. Don't worry, it's non-lethal. Probably. Every magical girl needs their animal guardian, and our girl is no exception. She's getting a magical goose guardian. Her name will be Nemesis, named after the Greek goddess of vengeance and divine retribution. I 3D printed this model from Thingiverse, painted it to give it a more magical touch, and zhuzhed it up with some bits and bobs to make the model feel more like a magic companion and less like a regular goose. Not that there's anything wrong with regular geese, they're still pretty magical. Real talk though, she'd still terrorize children for funsies.
Quick. Little away, till the very next day.
With our dynamic duo complete, it's time for the reveal. While it may seem a little on the nose thanks to the existence of a certain Sanrio mascot character, no other name fits her as well as Retsuko. Translating to Rage Child, she's using her anger to fight evil and look cute doing it. But not too cute, she'll clobber you if you call her that. This collab features the talent of a lot of incredible artists, including Barb and Alex from Enchanterium. Huge thanks to them for putting this collab together, it was a blast. To see the contributions of all the other artists, check out Enchanterium's video after you're done here. What do you think of my angry magical girl, and what kind of opponents do you think she'd be fighting? Leave your thoughts down below. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video and want to see more of my doll making shenanigans. Thanks again for watching, my dudes, and I'll see you next time.